Good evening, Instagram. Hopefully I'm now live. Yes. Welcome to this session. My name is Sergeant Bugler Chris Harris. I'm just a quick introduction about me. I've been in the band service for 16 years now. I joined in 2004. That sounds like a long time when you say it like that. Hello everyone joining. So I've been in 16 years. I've served in a number of the Royal Marines bands, Collingwood, Portsmouth, Plymouth, and I'm currently one of the Corps of Drums instructors here at the Royal Marines School of Music. So a quick outline on how this session tonight is going to work. I'm going to talk to you for 20-25 minutes specifically about the Corps of Drums audition for the Band of Her Majesty's Royal Marines, and then after that I'm going to be joined by Corporal Bugler Ben Streeter, who's going to help field questions from you guys about the audition, about the wider recruitment process, and all that kind of stuff. So pop your questions in the comments and Ben will pick them up while I'm talking about the audition, and then when he jumps in, he'll fire some at me, he'll answer some himself, and between us we'll be able to answer all your questions. So please dig out, type a load of questions in the box there, and Ben can write them down as we go along. So I'm going to talk to you for roughly 20 minutes about the Corps of Drums audition. Now, in normal circumstances, you'll come down to Portsmouth, where I am right now, and I'm actually sat in the Buglers rehearsal space here. The Corps of Drums grot is an outbuilding on the School of Music site. So we've got 10 practice rooms for the trainee buglers, an office, and I've got this space here, which is our main rehearsal space. We call it the stereo room. It's got a stereo in it, but it's also where we run the auditions from outside of pandemic circumstances. So in normal circumstances, you come down to Portsmouth for a week-long audition that will cover all manner of tests, with interviews and PT tests, academic examinations, and the instrumental auditions themselves. Now, the part I'm only going to be talking about the Corps of Drums audition, which is maybe 20 minutes, half an hour of that week, Corps of Drums specific. So if you have expressed a wish to audition specifically for the Corps of Drums, or whether you've auditioned as a cornet player or a percussionist maybe, and you've shown some kind of aptitude towards Corps of Drums, maybe you're a cornet player but you're particularly well coordinated, or you memorise stuff very well, and they've gone, actually they might be a good candidate for the Corps of Drums, then you might come down and try out for the Corps of Drums. Outside, so that's in normal circumstances. During the pandemic, we've been trying to is a bit loose. We have been auditioning people from their own homes virtually. We've adapted the process so they can do that as best they can from home, which has worked very well actually. But I'm going to be talking about normal circumstances, so hopefully we can get back to normal pretty soon, and then everything can run like normal. So best case scenario, you'll come to the School of Music and you'll have a time for your Corps of Drums audition. When you arrive, you'll be escorted to the Corps of Drums suite where I am now, and one of us will greet you, try and put you at ease, and take you to a small practice room where you can warm up and kind of prep yourself for the audition. And then when you're ready, when we're ready as well, you'll be called into this main rehearsal space, the audition room. There'll be a desk, and there'll be a panel of assessors. This can consist of, now there are probably 5 people who could potentially be in there, but it's quite a small room. We don't want you to be more nervous than you have to be, so we do try and limit the number of people in there. But these 5 main people will watch the audition back, and they're all video recorded, so we have the ability to watch them back to compare everybody, and then when we make our decision, we're fully informed. So the 5 people who could potentially be in there, the first one is our Professor of Percussion here at the School of Music, Professor Matt King. He's principal percussionist of the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra and our professor of percussion here. He teaches the military side drummers as well, and he's top of his game. He'll be looking at obviously military side drum potential. Our professor of trumpet and cornet and also the bugle professor, she teaches all those, Professor Elaine Close. She's also very well respected in the orchestral world. Used to play for the BBC Philharmonic, but she's currently full-time professor here at the Royal Marine School of Music. And then 3 military personnel. Firstly, the Bugle Major Russ Piner. He's a warrant officer. You call him Sir. You'll get away. That'll show the appropriate level of respect. He's our course manager here, so he manages the B3 course, the Buglers course, and then underneath him you've got Colour Sergeant Neil Lowe and myself, who are the 2 Corps of Drums instructors. We deliver that course that the Bugle Major manages. So he tells us what to deliver and we instruct it. We deliver the actual course itself. So we'll be working with you day in, day out if you're successful. So we obviously have a valid opinion, and we'll be assessing you periodically throughout the course. So we know what we're looking for. And that's the board. The audition itself takes 3 main parts. Firstly, bugling. We'll go bugling first. For bugling, you'll need to prepare a piece. Now, I understand that not everybody who auditions for the Corps of Drums is a bugler. If you're a cornet player, a piece on cornet is absolutely fine. If you are playing a bugle, we would suggest some calls. Some basic calls, maybe up to C in the stave, or at a very basic level. But if you're more adept and you're competent and brave, you can go for a last post or a sunset as a prepared piece. We would rather you play something you're confident at and competent at than try and attempt something more difficult and not really deliver it very well. It's better to play something safe and deliver it confidently than the other way around. Then once you've delivered your prepared piece, we'll ask you to critique it and offer you some critique as well. And then we'll move on to some coaching, and we'll talk about technique. We'll get you to demonstrate some things, whether they came up in your prepared piece or not. But we're looking for a good understanding of basic breathing technique, no puffing your cheeks out, no breathing through your nose, for example, ideally. Try to limit tension. As military buglers, we stand on parade, everything's really, military. That can undermine the relaxedness necessary for playing a brass instrument sometimes. So a good solid understanding of proper breathing technique, and I've got some notes here, and control of airspeed, and I've mentioned everything else. So that's the kind of thing we're looking for there. So we'll get you to demonstrate some things and coach you through it, and we're also looking for how you react to that coaching, how you could. Some people's bad habits are very severely ingrained and they struggle to get out of them. But if you can show us that you're adaptable and actually, can you try it like this, and you're keen to give that a go and you do well, then that's a real positive thing. So after the prepared piece and a bit of technique and coaching, we're then looking at a small section of sight reading. Now this is a discipline where we reveal a short excerpt of music in front of you. Now it's not going to be complicated. It's going to be probably crotchets and quavers, pitches, middle C, G, and the C in the stave at most. So to give you some kind of ballpark to aim for with your reading, and what we're looking for there is a basic understanding of notation and perception of the pitch that's written on the page. Don't think that we understand fully that we understand fully that a lot of places where cadet backgrounds and that kind of thing, you might not be the strongest readers, and I don't want to put you off, but it's a really valuable skill, and you can develop yourself so much more if you can read. So if there are two candidates side by side and they're identical in every way, but one can read music even at a very basic level and the other one can't, that's a real strong point. So I'd strongly advise you to, I mean, these days you can Google anything and find tutorials on YouTube for most things. So I would endeavour to get a basic understanding of reading music as well. And that's it for bugling. Prepared piece, bit of coaching, technique and demoing what level you're at there, and then some sight reading. And then we move on to the military side drum part of the audition. Very similar. You'll start with a prepared piece. Now, this could be a piece of repertoire that we play in the Royal Marines. If you know what we play, you could play a basic set of marching solos, working up to maybe a basic level drum static, or more. If you're more adept and you're more confident, then show us what you've got. That's great. But again, we'd rather you play something simpler well than play something a bit harder and not deliver it as well. Again, we're looking for basic technique, the fundamental understanding of a good grip, the different types of stroke, and that kind of thing. We'll move on to some coaching again. So Professor Matt King will take charge of this if he's present. If not, it will be one of the instructors. And we'll maybe get you to adjust your grip slightly if we can see anything wrong with that, and adapt like that. Again, we're looking for how you adapt to some instruction, some coaching. That's what we're going to be doing for the next however long if you're successful. So knowing that you're quick to react to that kind of thing, it's a real positive sign. Also, we'll be looking at rudiments. So the building blocks of rudimental military side drumming. If you don't know what they are, Google them. They're all over YouTube, all over the internet. So have a look at any kind of basic tutorials for rudiments. They, like I say, they're the building blocks of rudimental drumming. So so a basic understanding of those, how to practice them well as well, would be a real positive, a real plus. And then again, sight reading, this time on the military side drum. This will all be on a pad if you're here physically. If you're at home, it's whatever you've got at home. But sight reading for military side drum will be crotchets, quavers, some semi-quavers, probably. So you've got, because of the lack of pitch, probably a little more complex rhythmically than the bugling, but it's still going to be a very basic standard, remembering where a lot of our candidates come from. If you're very good at reading already and that's a breeze for you, we might throw something a bit more complex at you to really test you and see where you're at. If you want to learn, if you don't know how to read music at all, rhythms, and if you want a source from exactly where we're coming from the horse's mouth, if you go to the Royal Marines Band Service YouTube channel, you'll find my tutorials on reading music from scratch, and they are at the moment just rhythms, learning to read rhythms, like the Royal Marines Corps of Drums. They start from the assumption that you know nothing, that you've never seen music before, and work up to a level that you can read everything that is in the Bugler Class 3 syllabus. So they'd be really valuable to you to get yourself a head start, to get the ball rolling on that. So we've tackled bugling, we've tackled military side drum. The third section is a vocational section, so it's not playing per se, but it's very Corps of Drums centric. tests that don't fit into either the other two sections, but they're very specific and important for specifically the core of drums. So first of all, we do a quick dynamic oral assessment. Now this is the skill of using your ears, being able to sing a note accurately, sing a note back from a piano, that kind of thing. Again, remembering where a lot of our candidates come from, a sit-down formal oral examination doesn't often reveal maybe what we need it to. So we do a quick dynamic one as part of the core of drums audition. So I'll be sat with an electronic piano. It will be very basic. I am going to ask you to sing, and that's not to catch you out or make you look silly, but we need to assess how well your ears work, and that kind of thing. So please be prepared for that. It's not to make you look silly, and we'll try and put you at ease anyway, but be prepared to sing. I'll hit a note on the piano and get you to sing that back, something you can easily practice outside of before the audition. If you can do that, success. If you can't do that straight away, I'll sing you a note and get you to sing it back. So, because often we find that if you've not done this before, it's a completely alien skill to you. If you can't do it with the piano, often it's actually okay if someone sings you a note, you sing the same note back. Yeah, that works. From there, I'll get to maybe sing a major scale, maybe just up to the perfect fifth and back, and then I'll play a note and ask you to sing the fifth above, this kind of thing. Again, if you don't know what an interval is or anything that I've just said in the last minute or so, if that doesn't mean anything to you, ask a music teacher. You can Google them, and or get in touch and we'll point you in the right direction. And I might get you to identify some intervals as well, but we're getting a gauge of where your ears are at in terms of training, and how natural you are at that, or how well you're prepared in that area. After the dynamic oral assessment, I'll get you to stand up, and we're going to talk about coordination and drill. So obviously in the core of drums, we're even in a concert per se, we're still marching about. The drill is a huge part of what we do. And for someone who's not marched with a drum, if you're a strong bugler but you've never marched with a drum on before, you've never performed stick work before, this can be a real area for focus. It can take a long time to get okay with this kind of thing. So again, a swift, dynamic assessment. In terms of drill, I'll ask you to stand up because I do need to see your feet at the same time. I'm talking about if we're doing it virtually and you probably sat down for most of the rest of the audition, you'd probably be stood up if you were here physically. If you were here physically, I'd probably take you outside with some of the existing trainees, and we'd go up and go out onto the parade square and march up and down. If we're talking about sat at home in current circumstances, I'd get you to stand up, back away from the camera so we can see the full length of you, because I need to see your arms and your feet and how they move, how they work together. So the first thing I'm going to get you to do is march on the spot and maybe play some 3-beat rolls. Down, I'm trying to make it really obvious. I'm kind of moving my feet as well. Down and up. If you've never done stick work before, obviously this will be a challenge as well. That kind of thing. I'm going to get you to play some on-beat crotchets. So they will be right, left, with the opposite feet going. Okay, so we work in diagonals. Left foot, right stick, right, left. Are the sticks playing, but my feet are going left, right, like that. I'll move on to some quavers. Right, left, with the feet still going. And then some offbeat quavers, so the movement's exactly the same, but you're not tapping the first of every quaver. Hopefully that makes sense. And then I'll push you even further. I'll ask you to do the same with slow feet, for example. I'll send you some. I'll throw some syncopated rhythms your way, something like da 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 so your feet are still moving in the same speed, but then you're playing something a bit more complex over the top. Again, just to get a gauge of where you're at with that kind of thing. Some people are very natural at that and it's very easy. Some people they can become a bit unstuck at that point. But something you could easily practice at home. And the last part of the vocational side of things is a memory test. We have some cards with short bars of rhythmic notation, 4 or 5 of them. We'll ask you to clap the whole thing, and then we'll let you know, but we're going to slowly turn them over and ask you to repeat the whole piece of music. Corporal Ben Street is going to join me very shortly to answer your questions. I'm just going to finish up by talking generally about what we're looking for. This isn't just my opinion. I've asked the professors, I've asked the bugle major about their opinions on what we're looking for. Now, we're looking for musicality, not just going through the motions of a piece, but if you can put some kind of feeling into them as well, especially if you're playing a last post. It's a very emotive piece of music. If you can put some kind of feeling in there, light and shade, a bit louder here, a bit quieter there, tempo, pulling it about where it feels musical to do so, that would be really good. And playing things in the style they're intended, so don't do that with a set of marching solos, for example, because we're wanting to march to those. So intonation and pulse we'll be thinking about when you're playing your performance pieces. Pulse is easy to practice if you get a metronome. Again, if you've never played with a metronome, it's quite a challenge and it's quite an alien concept, but then as soon as you get to grips with that will really highlight straight away any errors in pulse or how you're altering things that maybe you shouldn't. Intonation, get a tuner. Many metronome and tuner apps available on smartphone these days, so very, very easy to get to grips with that. We're looking for a real solid grounding, a good technique above everything else. An effort made to develop in more than one area, ideally every area. We're looking for that response to coaching when we give you the tuition, the instruction, seeing how you react to that. Looking to see how well you've prepared for it, your natural ability, an awareness of what you're entering into. So know what the Royal Marines Corps of Drums do, what you're likely to be doing in training, what you're letting yourself in for, really, and the importance of bugling. Sorry, Professor King, but you don't have to be a solo drummer. You have to be a solo bugler. Every one of us plays at service funerals under pressure. There's no way you want to turn up to that underprepared. So you have to be a solo bugler, and the recognition that is important is good. But above all, we're trying to assess capacity. Now, if someone's very good in most areas and has one kind of deficit, then they're going to stand a good chance against someone who has flaws in many areas. And we're looking for capacity. How easy is this person going to find training? How far along are they, and how much work are they going to have to put in? I think I'm ready for Corporal Ben Streeter to join me. I'm just scrolling back through the comments, trying to find his request. And view request. I'm sorry, Ben, I can't actually let you in. I can see a request from another person. Can I request you to join? I'm sure I can work that out, Ben. Yes. how that's worked. I think I've done it, Ben. Let me know. Right, let me scroll back through these comments and see if I can start answering questions. Best gig I've played so far. I've played so many gigs. Up there's got to be playing on the red carpet for the Skyfall Bond premiere. We played on the red carpet outside the Albert Hall, and then we got free tickets to go and watch the film. That was pretty special. I've played at the Albert Hall for the Remembrance Festival many times. And you've got to retain perspective. This is an amazing job in that respect. Hold on a second. More questions. How did I do that? Went back to there. Okay. What non-music or alongside opportunities you had at the time in the band? There are plenty of opportunities for adventure training, for personal development. I'm not particularly sporty, if you hadn't realised, but I've had the opportunity to do some courses in what I'm interested in, some teaching courses, some coaching and mentoring courses, that kind of thing, developing my own instructional skills, which is something I'm quite passionate about. But I know plenty of people who have been abroad playing sport for the Navy and many other opportunities outside of music. How do you become a drum major? I knew someone was going to be asking this. How do you become a drum major? Well, firstly, you join the Corps of Drums. You pass the Corps of Drums audition and you join B3 training. You spend up to 2 years or less. We can advance people through, and you become qualified B3. You pass out into a band, and after a couple of years, you'll be able to take what's called your B2, so the next level of specialist qualification musically, and that'll be so you'll be a B2 qualified bugler, and once you've picked up a substantive date for corporal, then you can apply for the drum majors course. The drum majors course is a 4-week course where you study everything drum majory, not just the parade side, but then all the admin and welfare and all the other sergeant major role that the drum major plays. You're trained in all of that, and you become drum major qualified. Now, you won't become a drum major of a band straight away. You'll be like a substitute drum major for the time being until an appointment becomes available, and then if you're selected for that appointment, you'll become a drum major, and you'll put your bugle and side drum to one side, put it back in the store, and pick up a pole and run with that role. Let me see. I'm left-handed, Mark Poulter. Would this be a problem when joining the Corps of Drums? Absolutely not. Because we play traditional grip, and the left-hand grip over the side of the over the side of the side drum, it's actually a harder grip. If you're left-handed, that left hand suddenly becomes a lot easier, and the right-hand grip, which is easier. We often find that stronger drummers are left-handed. We do traditionally lead everything with the right hand, but that's something you'll get used to. Absolutely, practice all your rudiments ambidextrous anyway. So yeah, no problem whatsoever. If anything, somewhat of a strength. What motivated me to join the Royal Marines band service from Navy Boy 203? I went to a naval boarding school, and maybe not the best person to ask. I went to a naval boarding school where we had a marching band, and being a naval boarding school, we marched about every Sunday doing a parade, divisions parade, and in the winter months it was pretty chilly. I joined the band to keep warm, and I couldn't read music, so I became a drummer. I had no musical background whatsoever. I became a drummer. The bandmaster of the school's band was an ex-corps bandmaster of the Royal Marines, and he got me into the Corps of Drums. I watched the Royal British Legion Festival of Remembrance every year on the television, and when I left school, that's what I want to do. I joined up in 2004. I couldn't read music. I struggled desperately during training. I worked very hard and got out of training. I've continued to develop, and now I'm instructing. It's gone full circle. But yeah, I was motivated by seeing them on the television, and the joining the marching band to stay warm on cold Sunday parades at school. That was me. I've got, is the audition required an intermediate or high level skill to pass? Hopefully I've already answered that. Does the audition require any payment? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You have to get yourself here in normal circumstances, but apart from that, no, absolutely not. Go to your local Armed Forces Careers Office and start the process like that. They'll give you all the information. What pieces would I recommend playing on audition? Hopefully I've already answered that, or at least given you a kind of a ballpark. I've already answered that. I hope I've already answered that, Max Moy. So if you're successful in audition, sorry, the question from Dane Paris is, if you are successful in audition, when in the year will the 15-week training start? So I'm assuming you're talking about initial military training at Commando Training Centre, Lympstone. So the auditions actually run from, we've just had one, the next ones, they differ, but throughout the summer there might be 2 or 3 more. And then the decision's made once all those auditions are complete. And like I say, we've videoed everything so we compare everybody and make a decision. We'll find out how many places are available, and then once they're in an order, we find out how many places are available. And if it's 5, top 5, you're it. You get a phone call. Oh, you get a phone call either way, but you'll find out whether you're successful or not. The 15-week training, initial military training, starts in September, and you'll be at Commando Training Centre from September through to Christmas. And you'll join music training in January. For the Corps of Drums, it'll be up to 2 years. Now we're trying to accelerate people through training at the moment to try and pass them out if they're competent. The syllabus, certainly for the Corps of Drums, assumes absolutely no prior experience playing a military side drum or a bugle. So you might be a drummer and start bugle from scratch. So they both assume no knowledge, which is good for us trying to iron out people's bad habits sometimes. But also, if you already have knowledge of one or both, we can start you further along. We can skip a couple of assessments, of which there are 12 over the I keep saying 2-year course. It can be a lot shorter. There is flexibility in it to try and get people out quicker. So hopefully that's answered your question. I'm sorry, but Ben's having some trouble joining us. If you do have any other questions, then please type them in the box. This will go on Instagram TV when they're finished, and Ben will hopefully have more success joining in next week's session. So next week you've got Corporal Mark Upton talking about how to prepare for an audition or an exam, selecting pieces, that kind of thing. After that, you've got Corporal Craig Sanders talking predominantly about stage fright, about performance anxiety. Really good topic. I'll just say one brief thing about that in terms of Corps of Drums audition. Just expect to be nervous. You're going to be nervous because you've come a long way. You're auditioning for a job. You're going to be nervous. If people don't kind of expect it, then that can make people even more nervous. But when you are nervous and you've you can welcome the nerves and say, great, you're here, okay, I can start to chill out now. And it often helps you out. But don't be naive enough to think that you're not going to get nervous, because you will be naturally, because you care, because we're going to potentially offer you a job at the end of the day. So that would be my advice for that. But much more from Corporal Craig Sanders on that in a couple of weeks' time. Just scroll through, see if there are any other questions that I can answer for you. Lots of people joining and waving at me. Okay, one from BHW the second. What are some exercises that will speed up left hand, but also in general both hands, with how to increase natural speed of hands? Now, increasing your hand speed is something that's going to take a lot of time. It's not an overnight fix. My advice would be drum rudiments. They don't have to be practiced monotonously. Not like a really boring way. You can find very fun ways of practicing rudiments, but I would advise you to definitely, if you're talking about left hand, start rudiments on both hands. Don't just always lead with the right. Develop the hands equally, and if your left is weaker, focus on your left hand. Take time to identify where your weaknesses are, and if it is your left hand, work more on that. But also with a metronome. Okay, get a free metronome app on a smartphone, and you can practice those. But also measure your success. Measure, where do you top out on a certain rudiment, where it starts to become a little untidy. Where is that? Mark it down. And then you'll actually be able to measure your progress rather than going at it blindly and not really aiming your practice. Then when you have a down day, when you're feeling a bit low, you go, oh, this isn't improving. You can look back through a practice diary and say, oh, actually, I've added 10 BPM to my paradiddles, and it gives you a bit of a boost and motivates you to keep practicing. Hopefully that has answered that for you. Felix, if you only play the bugle, is that okay? Absolutely, 100%. Like I said, if you can make an effort to attempt the basics of military drumming technique, that would be brilliant, as well as all the academic disciplines and the ones I covered today in the Corps of Drums audition. But yes, if you play a bugle, that is absolutely fine. Like, I'm just going to say it again, you have to be a solo bugler. As a bugler in the Royal Marines, certainly if you turn up to a funeral as a Royal Marine bugler, people are expecting that last post to be very good. Okay, and you don't want to let the service down. You certainly don't want to let the family down at such a high profile event, a high pressure event as someone's funeral. So yes, if you play a bugle, yes, absolutely. Come and give it a go. We can teach you anything else from scratch. So yes, please. Is it good to play two instruments? In my case, it would be drums and violin. Military tattoo fan. Yes, absolutely. A lot of our categories are double-handed. Just because you play drums and violin, which isn't one of our current categories, that doesn't mean that you won't show musicality enough to be accepted onto. You could be a percussionist, you could be a violin and something else, and take up a second instrument of study that does fit with the categories. You might be offered a number of different things. I think that says Oreo Pestel. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. What if you can't read music? Watch this back when it's on Instagram TV. I hope I answered that earlier. It's not the end of the world, but we're seeing more and more candidates who can read music. Like I said earlier, get yourself over to YouTube, find the Royal Marines Band Service channel, Corps of Drums, reading music tutorials, and you'll find me, my droning voice, talking about the basics of reading music from scratch, and it's such a valuable skill. If you can develop your own reading ability, you're suddenly independent as a musician and can develop yourself. Greg Napier, do you need to bring your own drum and bugle? Bugle, if you're talking a physical audition down in Portsmouth, then yes, I would bring your own bugle. We do have a spare one, an audition bugle, if you don't, but I would advise bringing your own instrument, because it's what you're used to playing, and you can practice on that and be much more comfortable than turning up and playing something that you've never, it will feel different. So I would bring your own bugle. You don't need to bring your own drum. The audition is performed on a drum pad, and then any marching about we'll borrow military side drums from the trainees, so you can have one of those to march around with. So no need for a drum, but yes, please bring a bugle. What is life like for trainee buglers during COVID? You'd have to ask them. No. At the moment, training has continued. We're restricting the numbers of staff in, so that the trainees have been, I'll get this wrong now, a cohort. They've been in each other's company. They live in the same accommodation. They work together. They've been a cohort since January now. They spend every minute of every working day together. But we're reducing the numbers of instructional staff. So I do my job half the week from home. The virtual capacity has grown, so we're pretty okay with it now, having been in lockdown for a decent time. So we're getting to grips with that. They are allowed out a little bit, but it's obviously controlled very closely. We do have some lateral flow testing going on as well, and lots of hand washing and distancing and mask wearing, as you would expect between the staff and trainees, where appropriate. But because their movements are restricted somewhat at the moment, they're finding that they've got nothing better to do but practice. So they're coming in the evenings and getting a lot done. And we've actually found that a lot of their instrumental studies have accelerated. So that's only a positive thing. Making the best of the circumstances, really. Let me see what else I've got. Just tapped a button that might let Ben know. Hey, there we go, finally.
I don't know what's going on, and for some reason it's just popped up. So I don't know why. I was trying to able to join. It said the request wasn't being sent. So modern technology.
Yeah, I'm not a program expert. It just popped up. I was looking through comments and went, "Oh, Ben wants to join again. Great, thanks for helping me out." Nice to see you, Ben.
You've answered most of the questions anyway. I'm just here, was going to be here to help answer some of the questions. I think most of the questions that were posted in the story earlier have been posted again and answered. But yeah, if you've got any more more specific recruitment questions or anything like that, by all means fire them my way, or I'll have a brief chat with Chris. But yeah, carry on where you were, Chris. Sorry.
No, please help me out. If I want to be a percussionist, can I also learn bugle on its own, or do I have to join the drum corps? So the corps of drums are drummers and military side drummers. Sorry, buglers and military side drummers. If you're a percussionist, if you wanted to play tune percussion, drum kit, that kind of thing, that's a different role. You'd end up as a musician and studying that predominantly, and that would be your job, if you like. Once you can dabble in things once you've completed your studies, and always kind of expand your musical prowess in any way. So we wouldn't discourage it, but they are two distinct roles. Yeah.
There was one question earlier about how long can you stay in the band, and I don't think you've answered that one yet. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the current terms of engagement are you sign up for 12 years, but you can leave after you've sort of paid back your training. And then hopefully if you got promoted by then, you can then stay on for a further 10 years up until 20 years. It's it is dependent on if you have got promoted or not. If you haven't, the band service can decide to keep you, which is probably highly likely anyway. There's that. The audition dates I think you've covered, beginning of June and beginning of July this year. But if you're interested in those, you want to be applying as soon as possible, because the bits before the audition can sometimes take their time, especially in the current climate. I think you've answered a couple of questions on your career, Chris, but have you answered the one on what is the best gig that you've ever done?
I think I did, Ben, actually. I only mentioned one. That was the Bond premiere that we did for Skyfall on the red carpet of the Albert Hall. There have been many more, none of which spring to mind at the moment. I mentioned the Festival of Remembrance at the Albert Hall again, but yeah, so many. They've all rolled into one. But how about yourself?
I've said this loads of times before, but the Top Secret gig, when we played with Top Secret on it,
yeah,
amazing. Still up there. That was when was that? About 17, I think, 2017. Again,
yeah.
I've answered this already. Is it possible to become an officer in the band service? Have you answered that one?
Oh, to me, no, I haven't answered that. Yes, of course you can. Not in the Corps of Drums currently, but at the musician side of things, you can progress through the ranks and gain a commission and become a director of music. So yes, absolutely you can. Yeah. Cool.
I know you answered the question about two instruments. Someone said that they could play drums and violin. It's always worth mentioning about the Royal Navy website. If you go to the band service part of that, there are links in our bio on Instagram and in Facebook as well. If you go there, you'll actually get the full list of instrument pairings. So violin, for example, pairs with clarinet and saxophone. So we do have set pairings. You can't play drums and violin, unfortunately. It goes along with the orchestral capability. I don't know if there's any more questions that have popped up through.
Yeah, I've just found a couple at the bottom here. Oh, and then it just 2 seconds. Josh Taylor wanted to know if we pass the audition but say there isn't enough spaces for the bugler role, will we get offered a place for another role in the band? Not necessarily, Josh. It depends on your aptitude, or whether you've auditioned for those kind of things and whether you show potential in those areas. Just because you show potential in the Corps of Drums side of things doesn't necessarily translate over to the musician side. Totally dependent on how you perform in those. If you play more instruments or are particularly musical, then no reason why not. But totally depends on your performance in the audition. Jay Russell says, I have played the side drum for a long time, but have only been playing the bugle a short time. What level should I aim to achieve before applying? Hopefully I answered that earlier, Jay. So a basic understanding of proper breathing technique and using airspeed to change notes, no pressing the instrument onto your face, bad habits including puffing your cheeks out, nose breathing, and we really want to avoid tension, but any credible brass teacher will be able to kind of take you through the basics of that. We're obviously restricted on a bugle to the harmonic series, but yeah, it's more about technique and a solid grounding of what good technique includes, rather than what you can actually produce. And we're always looking for potential. So if you've got a good ear, good level of oral and pulse and musicality, that will stand you in good stead above anything you can currently play. It's a real hard thing to kind of get across, that we're not looking necessarily at current ability, but trainability, how you react to coaching, and if you've got a natural level of musicality.
It's always mentioning, sorry to jump in there, but it's always worth mentioning when people ask about reading music or any element of part of the audition process, whether it be being able to play a bugle, a drum, things that you may not have done before. It's always good to try and get a bit of a head start in whatever way you can. I know it's difficult now with COVID, but see if there are local cadet units around that might be able to even help you out with an instrument. They might have one there that you can use. Look on YouTube. YouTube is it's just washed with loads of different lessons on. Cornet lessons would be a good good place to start. Basic cornet lessons for bugling. Obviously, Chris mentioned earlier about our YouTube channel, the Royal Marines Band Service YouTube channel, where we've got our Band Service Academy on there, where there are quite a lot of lessons that were done by Chris a couple of years ago. But yeah, absolutely. Ask around. There will be instrumental teachers around about. Specifically for bugle, though, it is sometimes difficult to find maybe a bugle teacher, but even a brass teacher, they will be able to give you a decent grounding. And again, with theory and all that sort of stuff as well. If you come to your audition showing that you've at least tried to just get an understanding of the subject, not necessarily a complete understanding, just a general grounding, it just shows your willingness to go forward, learn, and hopefully join us.
A couple more questions. Louis Mepham, best place to buy a bugle? We can't directly endorse any of those, but what you're looking for is a B-flat bugle, ideally with a tuning shank and a mouthpiece to suit as well. But obviously, the quality of the instrument you buy is going to stand you in good stead if you spend a bit more rather than less. I would definitely not buy a cheap bugle. If you're serious about it and you're planning on auditioning, then I wouldn't do that. Rebecca, sorry Ben, were you going
to mention there? Some people aren't aware that when you do join up, you do get issued every piece of equipment that you would ever need. So obviously for us as buglers, you will get all your sticks, your drum, your bugle, your mouthpiece, your drum head, everything that you would need. But further for musicians and things like that, you would get everything you'd ever need, reeds, cleaning equipment even. It's all issued to you. So yes, you would have to buy an instrument before you join up, but when you join up, you do get your equipment, and it is all top-notch stuff.
Rebecca Brownlee, what was the best part of IMT? Mine was a while ago, Ben. I can remember what the worst parts were. But yes, the best part for me was kind of feeling by the end of it that you were really part of the military and you'd really achieved something, because it's not easy. And you know, the weapon handling, the lots and lots of physical exercise, and it really transforms people. And you really feel like you've learned something, and you've been pushed outside of your comfort zone. But that passing out ceremony at the end of the initial military training, you really feel like you've achieved something, and you know, your parents don't even recognise you. That was for me. Ben, yours wasn't quite so long ago.
No, not quite so long ago, but I would say probably the same, actually. It's the feeling of achievement, because I think to everyone, when you join the band service, the basic training is the part that is completely alien. So there are loads of big steps where you do. So yeah, getting to the end of that 15-week process when you haven't touched an instrument at all, it is a great sense. And you do, it sounds really cliche, but you do make amazing friends for life. Yeah, no, good stuff.
Got another one here. I currently play tenor and soprano saxophone. What instrument options would be available to me? I believe saxophone and flute, saxophone and clarinet is one, saxophone and violin. Am I right, Ben?
Not saxophone and clarinet, saxophone and violin. Another question on that, though, actually, where do you check the instrument pairings? That is on the Royal Navy website. Go to the band service section. The link is, I believe, in our bio on Instagram and Facebook. Just whilst I'm there, it's worth plugging the Royal Marines Band Service Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and YouTube pages, especially the YouTube one, as it's new. There's loads of subscribers already, but do head over there, because there's loads of stuff, MFMs from the last few years. Also, though, importantly, the Royal Marines Band Service Academy. So all that stuff as well.
Sorry, this is get a username that's easier to read. JazLW01. Can people join with food allergies? Yes, absolutely. I've got some intolerances myself. Yes, catered for. No problems with that. Greg Napier, I've played the side drum for 8 years. Does experience help with auditions musically and drill, etc.? Yes, of course it does, yeah. Hopefully I've answered that previously as well. Ben, one for you. Where do we check the instrument pairing options, i.e. the categories, from Dane Paris?
just run that over that then, but it's on the Royal Navy website, link in our bio, link on Facebook. If you just Google Royal Marines Band Service, apply now, something like that, the Royal Navy website will pop up, and that will give you all of the information from times of service, things like that, through to pay, through to things like instrument pairings. Yeah, sorry, just I think we're limited to about an hour. So although I joined a bit late, I think we're coming up to the sort of end point.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did briefly say that I would go live straight after this. That's when I couldn't join. Because of modern technology, I won't do, but I'm sure in the next couple of weeks, hopefully we won't have the technical problems that we've had this time with me or Corporal Amy Phillips joining. So any questions that you've got, we can then send forward. It is worth briefly mentioning now as well that if you have got any questions about things like auditions, look at life, or just registering interest, do email us careers@royalmarinesbands.co.uk, and someone will get back to you specifically on things like look at life courses. They're for anyone that's interested in joining the Royal Marines Band Service, maybe not yet ready to commit, maybe not quite old enough. It's from ages 14 upwards, and it gives you a bit of an insight as to what life in the band service is like. At the moment, held virtually over 2 days, but hopefully later on in the year, when we get to back to normality, it'll be in person.
Cool. I think that's probably just about all we've got time for. Thank you everyone for watching and contributing, asking questions and everything. Hopefully we've given you a decent amount of answers. Thank you, Ben, for joining me, supporting me and answering all the questions I couldn't. Great, thank you very much. Yeah, I'll post this on Instagram TV, so it'll be there for a while. Thank you. Tune in. Is it next Wednesday, Ben? Remind me about with Corporal Mark Upton.
Time, same place, 6:30 in the evening with Corporal Mark Upton. It will either then be, if technology works, myself or Corporal Amy Phillips joining Mark about halfway through, again, to answer any questions on the audition process, anything that's a bit more recruitment based. But yeah, do join Mark next week, and the other two further on, Corporal Craig Sanders and Corporal Sophie Perrion.
Brilliant. Cheers, Ben. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
For being in. See you soon.